The Florida Maquis has tried to create a unique place on YouTube. A place that doesn't necessarily fall into any specific category. We're not all for the current leadership in this country. We're not all against it either. I'm for good ideas, but I'm always going to call out cowardice when I see it, or people being disingenuous, or straight up lying. Doing that dance on YouTube on this platform is getting harder and harder. So I would humbly ask my audience if you could please extend me some leeway and understand that 2 or 3 years ago, when I decided to start doing this for a living, the rules were very different. And now with the world changing the way it has, I cannot do things or say things that could possibly give YouTube any excuse to take away my ability to earn an income here. I know that sounds like a cop-out. I know that sounds like a sellout. But there is a way around in the middle. We just have to be smarter. We have to be more nimble. And we have to be able to understand each other using language that is a little bit too complex for the AI. And imagery. So that having been said, I would like to talk about something today that we've talked about before, but in a different light. And that maybe it will illuminate where I'm coming from on some things. Now, right off the bat, every time I show an image like this, the entire channel numbers go up 20 to 25%. Not just this video. Other things that we've talked about that are way more important. The entire channel sees more traffic, sees more views. Now, the reason I chose this specific image is this is a very young picture of Ainsley Earhardt. She is another one of the girls from Fox News. I've never talked about her before. She was also, along with Sandra Smith, a bikini model. Now, she's also the girl that does the Bible study on Fox Nation. Now, I don't personally see these two things as contradictory. I don't think when she was here, she was doing anything that anyone could specifically pull out, chapter and verse, as some kind of a direct contradiction to a Christian lifestyle. I'm sure there are people out there that could probably try to twist some things, but that she's here in her life, she's done a lot of hard work. She's done things that other people weren't willing to do. Because when I see this, what I really see is this. The iceberg illusion. You don't see what it takes to do what those girls did, or even any other model, male or female. Anybody else who's ever been successful at anything. The persistence, the failure, the sacrifice, the disappointment, the hard work. It takes a lot. It really does. It's a no excuses kind of lifestyle. Because if it's gonna happen, you're the only one that can do it. To me, this is far more impressive. This woman is old enough to be my mom. This is Christie Brinkley at 65 or 66 years old. People see this and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she... This is a testament to a healthy lifestyle. This is a testament to choices. And the reason I dovetail it with the way that I lay it in is that this channel is all about getting up every morning and making the right choices about the things to talk about and the way to portray them so that we can continue to talk about the things we talk about. We can't just say anything that pops into our head, just like In the physical realm, you can't just pop anything into your mouth you want to eat in any quantity that you want to eat it. It's the same discipline that keeps me reined in here has to be applied to look like this or look like this, ever. It's the same thing. And contrary to popular opinion, no one in the world owes you anything. And this is one of the most disgusting and disappointing things I have heard come out of the mouth of the talking heads regarding this thing with COVID. China didn't owe us anything. They didn't owe us an explanation. They didn't owe us any kind of reporting. They didn't owe us any kind of, hey, this has happened and, we need to blah, 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 blah. It would have been nice if they did it, yes, but they didn't owe it to us. A couple days ago, I did a video where the president was talking with this woman in the, I believe it was the Rose Garden. They were doing, maybe it wasn't the Rose Garden. It was outside at the White House. And he said, why don't you ask China? And he said, to me, it's just cowardice. That's just cowardice to continue to point the finger, even if it is their fault, even if that's where it started, which I'm really suspect of, given that there's evidence coming out now that this was circulating in our country in October and November of last year. Kim Iverson reported this. Even if it was the case, the last 2 or 3 years, this country basically declared economic war on China. So why would they owe us anything? Why would they owe the world anything? They don't. That's just life. No one owes you anything. The world is a cruel place. No one will care about your problems or excuses. Life isn't fair. You choose to survive and thrive, improvise, adapt, and overcome, or give up. Those are your two choices. This is what you learn in the military, real quick. You don't remember the days at the range. You don't remember the times, where you were employing a ballistic weapon in training. You do remember all of the unfairness. You do remember how difficult it was to keep your mouth shut. You do remember being tired all the time. You do remember a lot of that and having to just overcome it. And we need to stop using this term. And I submit this, not in condemnation. There is no plan. There are people who are reacting, primarily C students who are in government, that are reacting and wanting you to believe that they have a plan and are in control, but they're not. People are talking about pandemic. It's not a thing. There are people that have had an alternate plan. If something like this occurs, then this is how we want to react, and we want to have people in place that'll react a certain way, but it's still reactive. There is no plan. You give these C students too much credit for being far smarter and far more organized than they really are. They aren't that good. Remember the guy behind the curtain in The Wizard of Oz? Think that. That's what they're doing. The C students run the world. That's always been the case. We can't allow ourselves to stop fixing the problem for ourselves because we think there's some other grandiose plan that's just going to defeat us. Why try? Why even, attempt? Because they're all in control. That's exactly what they want you to believe. And it's entirely incorrect. It's a tactic that they actually teach in military interrogation and intelligence school. Psychological operations. Make your subjects believe you have control over the horizontal, the vertical, everything, so that they don't think that they have any way to defeat you. You have to make them believe that, when it's never really the case. And that's the truth of what's going on now. There's also a lot of YouTube channels out there that want you to believe that they have figured out what this grand plan is, or who's in charge of this, or who's in charge of that. This big deep state excuse bullshit. This is why I've said before, there's really no such thing as the quote-unquote deep state. There's a bunch of C students with really nice suits that have learned how to talk in a way that makes you believe they have a plan when they don't. If you want to have a plan to fix you. If you want to have a plan to fix you. Don't be jealous of what someone else has unless you are willing to do what they did to get it. There is a lot of hard work behind all of those images that people see, whether it's the government, whether it's this channel, whether it's the bikini models or the people in Florida. There's a lot of hard work involved in it, a lot of planning actually involved in it. So when I see what I see on the news and I hear these people talk, I can tell they don't have a plan. They are not organized. They are pulling it out of their ass. And Dr. Rand Paul illuminated this yesterday in the testimony with Fauci, because he's a doctor. And he looked at this other doctor and said, I ain't buying it. I ain't buying it. You are just flailing. You are guessing, and then you are trying to cover and make other excuses for your bad guesses. And I will admit this to some extent. To try to predict what YouTube may or may not like, what my audience may or may not like, what might get views and what might not, sometimes requires some educated guessing. The map videos, when I first started doing them, I had no idea that they were going to be that popular. I still don't understand. I truly don't understand why people were more fixated and fascinated on the idea of prisons being opened during Shit Hits the Fan, more so than they were interested in the hundreds of hours of research that I did in Antarctica. I mean, seriously, if you took the time that I have put into the Antarctica videos, and you put that up next to the view rates against the map videos, it's not even close. So it's perplexing sometimes. And look, in a perfect world, this wouldn't get me 25% more views. But it's not a perfect world. It is what it is. But it is instructive that this, like testing, oh, by the way, is a snapshot in time. And it doesn't define a person. Because if you knew the real story of the things that she's been through, you'd probably be a lot more forgiving. Instead of pointing the finger and saying, you shouldn't have done this, or you shouldn't have worn that, and that's just leading men to lust, or whatever, all this kind of crap. You'd have a lot more mercy. So, anyway, the iceberg illusion. I will leave it there. Like, share, subscribe.